I traveled into a youth novel full of heart-wrenching twists and became a pitiful character. My father passed away, my mother remarried, and my grandmother, the one who loved me most, had also passed away not long ago. I was weak, powerless, and pitiful. I went to school during the day and worked at a restaurant washing dishes at night. There were nights when I didn't finish washing until 1 a.m. and then had to go home to do homework. Despite this, I remained resilient and strong, staying up late, waking up early, and diligently studying, always ranking at the top of my class. I even attracted the attention of the school's top dog, the principal's son. A handsome, top-ranking student. These people helped me a lot. However, this made the school's beauty queen, who was also chasing the top dog, extremely displeased with me. She bullied me throughout the 3 years of school. In the end, I couldn't bear the pressure and jumped from the top of the school building. As an orphan, without a father or mother, without power or status, no one spoke up to defend me. The beauty queen, from a wealthy family, was only scolded a few times by the teachers and everything was soon forgotten. Afterward, she even went to pee on my grave, making sure I couldn't even rest in peace. The only person who remembered me was the school's bad boy. Someone who didn't have much contact with me before. After I died, he came to my grave every year, lighting incense and offering me a rose. A life like this is heartbreaking to hear, and tears fall just thinking about it. Looking at the empty house, with only a little pocket money left, I cried out loud. I loved reading novels and had once thought about the idea of transmigrating. But I only liked reading light novels. To ask me to read something thought-provoking? Not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. But once you've transmigrated, you have to adapt. I lay flat on the floor like a lifeless fish, thinking about how I would survive until the end of the month with so little. When the alarm on my phone went off, the words, "Go to work," appeared on the screen like a soul-reaping charm. Washing dishes at the night restaurant. I didn't want to go, but the boss paid monthly. It was the end of the month. And if I could get through this week, I would receive over $100. I couldn't give up, so I immediately got up, ate 2 pieces of salted cucumber with plain rice, and rode my only bicycle to work. The boss was a middle-aged man in his 40s, wearing a white sleeveless shirt, wiping sweat off his neck with a towel. Seeing me, he said irritably, "Why are you so late? What's the hold up? Did someone die at home?" I blinked back tears, nodded, and said, "Yes, boss. My grandmother passed away this morning. After I finish washing the dishes, I have to go home for the morning." My words made the boss freeze. Speechless, the landlady immediately smacked him. "Are you trying to get yourself killed? Watch what you say. This girl has it hard enough already." After that, she turned to comfort me. "Allie, it's okay. He was just talking nonsense. Don't take it to heart." I wiped my tears, tried not to cry, put on my rubber gloves, and started washing the dishes. I must say, I have a talent for washing dishes, quick and clean. Both the boss and the landlady praised me. I was happily admiring my work when the landlady suddenly called, "Allie. Table number 8, help me bring the food down quickly. We're running out of time." I responded, immediately stood up, took off my rubber gloves, and went to serve the food. Unexpectedly, when I brought the food up, I froze. Standing before me was the character from the original story. The one who visited the heroine's grave every year to give her flowers, the school bad boy. Eric. Eric looked at me in surprise. And beside him was the school's beauty queen, the one who had bullied me for 3 years, Dame. Seeing me, Dame laughed. "Allie, what are you doing here?" "Oh, you're working here?" I muously nodded and smiled vaguely. "I have been an orphan since I was young. My grandmother just passed away not long ago. If I don't work, I won't have food to eat." Dame was about to make a mocking remark, but upon hearing what I said, she froze. I set the food down, smiled kindly. "Enjoy your meal." Then, I turned and went back to wash the dishes. A sycophant standing next to Dame immediately yelled, "You just finished washing dishes. And your hands aren't even clean. And you're serving us food? That's disgusting. Go back and do it again. We're not eating." I looked at her with fear in my eyes, opened them wide and helplessly said, "Classmate Lisa, I just washed the dishes. And I wore gloves. They're really clean. It's not dirty at all. Please don't make me do it again. The boss will deduct my wages. I can't afford to pay it." I lowered my head, my voice choked with emotion. I also want to buy a better urn for my grandmother's ashes. Please." "What? What? The 3 words, urn for ashes, made Dame's sycophant. Lamb hen, freeze in shock. I nodded sadly. After my grandmother passed away, the savings in the house were only enough to cremate her. Now I have no money left. I can only put her ashes in a cookie box. I wanted to save money to buy a better urn for my grandmother. But the cheapest one costs as much as my monthly salary. David, the good buddy of the school bully, snickered. Stop pretending to be pitiful here. I immediately wiped away the tears streaming down my face with the back of my hand and didn't speak to them anymore. The landlady called me. Then, she glanced at them and muttered with admiration, I really envy you guys. I don't know if what I said earlier stirred their compassion. But after that, they ate without calling me anymore. When they left, they even packed some food, looked at me meaningfully, and then left. The boss and the landlady knew they were my classmates, and thought they were helping out the restaurant. When my shift ended, the landlady even let me take the leftover food home. I went home, ate a late night snack, quickly finished the remaining homework. The next morning, I reheated it to have for breakfast. I really know how to live, a poor student overcoming hardships with excellent results. Every day, I went to school very early, aiming to avoid drawing attention. After all, being poor is like carrying chains and shackles. I just need a gust of wind, and it would be enough to shake the fragile self-esteem I have. I can't ask people not to look at me. I can only try to shrink into a corner. But because I stayed up too late doing homework last night, today I woke up later than usual by about 10 minutes. When I got to school, most of the students had already entered the gate. As I was walking with my old bicycle, Lisa, Dame's sycophant, started mocking again. Oh, our poor little student has arrived? Your bicycle looks so strange. What brand is it? I've never seen anything like it. Another person chimed in. Yeah, it looks so old and worn out. Can it even still work? I replied honestly, yes. It's nearly 20 years old. It was my dad's. Don't judge it by its old appearance. It's a classic domestic brand. Really good quality. Still works fine. After that, I sighed, feeling down. I don't know if it'll last until graduation. If it breaks down, I'll have to walk an hour to school every day. At that moment, Dame, who had been standing by watching the scene, spoke up. Allie, stop pretending to be pitiful. When I went home last night, the more I thought about it, the more I realized something wasn't right. Do you think saying all this will make us pity you? Who doesn't know you're just doing this to put on a show for John? John, the top student in the school. Brilliant, handsome, the principal's son, and also the one who often helps me. He was also the one Dame had a crush on. I looked at her eyes, which were usually as lively as a fawn's, but now had a lost look. She had clearly been up all night, unable to sleep, thinking about it, and she still said she didn't pity me? She complains with her mouth, but her heart doesn't follow. I smiled and said softly, sorry, is my bicycle bothering you? Next time, I'll leave it outside the school. Okay, Dame? I looked at Dame and saw that her face didn't look too good. So I spoke softly, did you not sleep well? If you're tired, you should rest for a while. There's still a little time before self-study. You can just lie on the desk, and I'll wake you up when the teacher comes. What I said made Dame freeze in surprise. Not just her, but the 2 girls beside her were also stunned. Lisa suddenly yelled, why are you caring about my Dame like this? Lily angrily stomped her foot. Don't talk like that. Do you think we can't bully you? If you really feel like you're bothering us, you shouldn't have brought your bike in the first place. I froze, looking at them with a sad expression. Tears were about to fall, but I stubbornly held them back. It's my fault. I'll go back to class now. You guys should rest. Then I lifted my head, greeted the rising sun and walked towards the classroom with my head held high. Maybe my concern had warmed Dame's heart. That whole morning, she didn't bother me again, just quietly sat in class. But I could still feel her eyes occasionally glancing at me. I could sense her gaze. Turning around, I smiled gently at her. What an innocent child. Her thoughts were all written on her face. She must have started to feel curious about me. The homeroom teacher announced the exam results. I was first in the class, second in the grade. Dame and her 2 sycophants were at the bottom of the class, ranking over 1,000 in the whole grade. The teacher sighed, shaking her head. What's the use of you 3 dressing so flashy every day? You don't focus on your studies. Look at Allie and then look at yourselves. The 3 of them were so embarrassed that they didn't know where to hide their faces. Don't say that. Even though I went to school during the day and worked part-time, washing dishes at a restaurant until 1 a.m., my academic performance was still at the top. But compared to Dame, who was rich and beautiful, I was nothing. I was just an ordinary study nerd. But Dame misunderstood me. She glared and said sarcastically, pretending to be so studious. Huh? Of course. As soon as school was over, they blocked me at the bike rack. Dame rushed up and kicked over my bike. My old bicycle fell to the ground, and the handlebar was kicked off. She gritted her teeth and said each word through clenched jaws. Allie, who allowed you to be so good at studying? Who allowed you to rank second, standing next to Sadiq? I was heartbroken. My bicycle. It was the only keepsake my father left me. My father was a firefighter. When I was 8 years old, he went on a mission to fight a fire and was severely burned. The emergency treatment didn't work, and he passed away. I laughed self-deprecatingly. Oh, why am I telling you all this? You didn't mean it. When Dame heard what I said, her voice trembled a little. She bit her lip but still stubbornly continued. You think just saying this will make me forgive you? Next time, don't do so well on the exam. I don't like seeing your name next to John's. I looked at her, a little awkward. But, if I don't get into the top 3, I won't be exempt from tuition and won't get the scholarship. It's just that I didn't try hard enough. I'll definitely try harder next time. Get first place. And even surpass John, okay? When Dame heard what I said, she immediately exploded with anger. I thought she was going to rush over and hit me. But no, she suddenly stopped, lowered her head, and bashfully stared at her toes. I turned around and suddenly saw John, the top student in the whole school, standing behind us. His handsome, sharp features and cold expression. When he noticed me looking at him, John spoke. Classmate Allie, do you need help? Oh, how embarrassing. He won't have heard me just say that I wanted to surpass him. Right? Seeing me about to speak, Dame immediately stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. John, it's not what you think. We saw that classmate Allie's bike is really old and can't be used anymore. We're worried she won't be safe riding it, so we wanted to collect money to buy her a new one. Then, she took 500 yuan from her pocket and slapped it into my hand. Take it, buy a new one. Dame's lackeys saw this and didn't dare to refuse. One by one, they pulled out money and handed it to me. Soon, I had a pile of money in my hand, almost 200 United States dollars. 200 United States dollars? This is enough to wash dishes at the night market for 2 months. I didn't know how to thank them. Tears welled up in my eyes. Too moved to speak, I held Dame's hand, my voice trembling. Classmate Dame, you're so kind to me. You're the most beautiful, kind-hearted, and compassionate girl I've ever met. Then, I excitedly hugged her. Amazing. Now my grandmother has a new urn for her ashes. Woo-hoo. John stared at me, then looked at Dame in disbelief. Dame forced a smile. HMPH. As long as you're happy. After that, she grabbed John's hand. John, I didn't do well on the test today. And the teacher scolded me. Please help me study. John, unmoved, pulled his hand away from hers. I've already made plans with Eric to practice after school. You can go ahead. Dame, feeling wronged, pouted and stomped her foot. Why him? You'd rather practice with him than tutor me on my homework? This is so annoying. HMPH. The smell of jealousy. According to the original setting, Black Panther John and school leader Eric are best friends. The school beauty dame is just a pet of Black Panther John. School leader Eric and the school beauty dame are childhood sweethearts. Together, in this tragic youth novel, they're all part of a beautiful youth. But only I am the one with a tragic youth. And it's tragic to the point of death. Thinking like this, I felt even more sorrowful. Dame showed obvious disgust towards me, even glaring as she passed by. But after John left, she followed him. When Dame and John left, the rest of her lackeys hesitated but eventually followed after them. I looked at the remnants of my father's belongings, crushed on the ground. With a sigh, I picked it up and took it to the recycling station. I sold it for 10 United States dollars in scrap metal. Then, I spent 50 United States dollars to buy a second-hand bike. The money from my classmates wasn't earned by the wind. I had to save a little. I couldn't let their help go to waste. Riding the newly bought second-hand bike, I happily headed home. I have to say, this bike rides much faster than the old one. After a quick dinner, I ran to the restaurant. With just 3 days left until the end of the month, I told the boss, the exams are coming. I need to focus on my studies. I won't be coming next month. The boss was reluctant and told me to come by when I had time. Actually, after leaving the restaurant, I took my wages and used this money along with the money Dame and the others had donated to me to buy all the necessary equipment. I went to the night market and sold pancakes. Before I traveled back in time, my grandmother sold pancakes. As her granddaughter, she passed the skill on to me. I make pancakes so well. Perhaps my pancakes were too fragrant. As soon as I set them out, they attracted many people to try them. On the first day, I sold more than 100 servings. After deducting the cost of ingredients, my net profit was over $60, more than I would earn from washing dishes for half a month. Was I calculating wrong? If I earned 60 a day, then I could make $1.800 in a month. Doesn't that mean I'm about to get rich? The truth proved, I'm still naive. After I added some handmade soy milk, my daily profit immediately exceeded $200. My fame grew, and the customers kept coming. Some even drove across half the city just to try my pancakes. This income was quite extraordinary in our village. After calculating the profits, the first thing I did was buy my grandmother the newest and most beautiful urn for her ashes. Now that I was in business, I had to honor my ancestors. I would worship my father and grandmother well, so they could bless me with great wealth and prosperity. I looked at the memorial tablet for my father and grandmother, who had been eating pancakes for a month now, slammed my hand on the table, and decided, Dad, Grandma, we're not having pancakes today. I'll make a better meal for the two of you. I ran to the most expensive restaurant here, ordered a few delicious dishes to take home, and bought a cake as a reward for myself. A new life, starting now. Now that I was making money, spending a little to repay society was the right thing to do. Contributing to GDP growth was everyone's responsibility. To my surprise, while I was waiting for my cake, I ran into someone I knew. It was Eric with Dame. Dame looked very upset, crying loudly. Eric seemed a bit impatient, rolling his eyes and asking her, Have you cried enough yet? Dame slammed the table in anger. You're not the one heartbroken. You're a blockhead. What do you know about love? What do you know about feelings? Eric sneered. Do you know why John treats the female lead in the book so well, while never giving you a pleasant look? It's because you speak recklessly, always stabbing others in the heart. I silently nodded. What the classmate said was right. Say a few more things. Hearing this, Dame immediately got angry. Are you defending that Allie? Do you like her too? I was terrified inside. This is something I can't just say. Although I don't know why Eric goes to visit my grave every year after I die in the original storyline. But now, I'm definitely not going to die. I'll just ignore this and pretend nothing happened. To my surprise, Eric stopped in his tracks when he heard this. A faint blush appeared on her face. What does it have to do with you? You sharp-tongued woman. Dame blurted out. You're not normal. I secretly thought to myself. You're the one who's not normal. Just as I was thinking of quickly escaping this place of gossip, avoiding those blinded by love affecting my screenwriting career, I heard the waiter's voice beside me. Dear customer, your food has been packed. Please make the payment over here. Thank you. In an instant, I felt two sharp gazes focusing on me. I turned around and smiled at them. What a coincidence. Dame saw me and immediately shouted. Allie, where did you get all that money from? Did you rob someone? I quickly responded. Classmate Dame, don't misunderstand. The items aren't mine. I'm just buying them for someone else. They need to be taken home for worship. After the worship, I can eat. I'm just the one buying things for others. Right? Hearing that, Dame's expression softened a little, and she snorted coldly. I told you, someone like you. How could you afford to spend money at such a high-end restaurant? She then turned to the waiter. Next time, tell her to wait outside. Sitting with her is truly embarrassing for us. The waiter forced a smile. Before he could speak, I spoke up first. I'm sorry, classmate Dame. Although we are classmates, I know our backgrounds are worlds apart. I'll take the items and leave right away. I absolutely won't embarrass you guys. Oh, by the way, could you tell me which high-end places you usually go to? I'll make sure to buy things for others and work extra hard to avoid crossing paths with you, so as not to ruin your mood. Hearing that, Dame was left speechless. I looked at her with an, I understand, expression, then finished paying, grabbed my food, and disappeared in an instant. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I almost got caught with money. I quickly rode my old bicycle home. First, I offered the food to my father and grandmother. then ate all the food worth 1.800 yuan by myself. While eating, I said to myself, it's delicious, but the portions are too small. I'm still not full. To fill my stomach, I still prefer my own pancakes. My pancake shop was getting busier and busier. The stalls around me started copying my business. Although the taste wasn't as good as mine, they couldn't keep up with the crowds at my stall, so customers had to go elsewhere. Of course, they took some of my customers as well. Moreover, since I had to go to school during the day, I only had a few hours in the evening to sell. After a while, my income started to drop. I realized this wasn't good. I had just started to taste the sweetness of making money. After thinking it over, I decided to take a bold step. Grilled squid on an iron grill. My squid was big, thick, and I added plenty of onions like they cost nothing. After grilling one large squid, I sprinkled on my secret sauce, cut it up, and boxed it for only 20 yuan. I could also add udon noodles, fried chicken, pork tenderloin, and other side dishes, creating a luxurious version. I didn't give up my pancake stall either. I hired a young guy to run it. With the profit split 30 to 70. I took 30, and he took 70. This money is enough for me to attend college. Today, I was happily grilling squid on the iron grill when I heard Lisa's gentle voice. Dame, I heard there's someone selling pancakes with grilled squid at the night market recently. It's really delicious. The line is always long. Let's go. I'll treat you guys. Don't be sad anymore. John is just mesmerized by the female protagonist in the book, Allie. He'll definitely realize your merits later. Eric's impatient voice came through. Eat, eat, eat. Every time John rejects you, you come and bother us. If you have the guts, go find him yourself. Hearing Eric say this, Dame couldn't hold it in anymore. We've been childhood friends since we were young. You and John are friends. Why can't you help us get together? Are you Allie's lapdog? You don't want me with John. You want him for Allie. Huh? Eric's face immediately darkened, his expression not at all friendly. Dame, have you said enough? Oh my god. These people talk so openly. Don't they care if others hear them? Since we've met, it must be fate. I couldn't leave, and neither could my stall. So I decided to take the initiative and greet them. Dame, Eric, are you here to eat? Both of them shook when they heard my voice. Eric looked at me, his voice a bit hoarse. You, how come you're here? Of course, I had heard everything they just said. It turns out that someone as dominant as Eric is actually an innocent puppy at heart. It's just a pity that this big sister, Anne, only cares about exams and selling street food. I purposely pretended not to hear and said to them, what were you guys saying just now? Don't say any more. This freshly grilled squid on the iron grill is ready. Take it and eat. Then I deliberately said loudly, my treat. Eric stood there frozen for a while, not moving. I directly shoved the squid box into his hand. Take it quickly, there's a line behind waiting. Do you want some pancakes? I'll grab a few for you. Then, I called out to my pancake partner nearby. Mr. Lee, over here, we have big pancakes. I'm treating my classmates. Just like that, the classmates who had been full of love and opinions about me earlier were instantly conquered by my pancakes and grilled squid on the iron grill. Each one of them praised. Lisa, it's so delicious. Lily, this flavor is amazing. Adam, how much is this per serving? It's much better than the expensive restaurant downstairs. Turns out, I've been such a fool all this time. Dame and Eric were eating eagerly, occasionally whispering to each other, as if plotting something. I looked at them and smiled indulgently. Oh, you poor rich kids, you've never tried street food. After a while, I put on my apron and eagerly asked, how do you guys like the taste? They all nodded, the sauce still on the corners of their mouths. Delicious, so delicious. I happily laughed. I thought with how rich you guys are, you wouldn't be used to our humble street food. Dame suddenly asked me, Allie, how come you're here? I explained, this stall belongs to my relatives. I work here part-time in the evenings, grilling squid on the iron grill. The pay is much better than washing dishes at the restaurant. If you hadn't donated money to me last time, my grandma would still be in a biscuit tin. I don't know how to thank you guys enough. Is there anything else you'd like to eat? I'll go get it. After saying that, I turned to go get more food for them. But Eric pulled me back. Don't go. We're full. Do you make a lot of money? Keep it for yourself. Eric is so handsome, almost 1.9 meters tall, with a buzz cut and dark skin. What's important is that he usually doesn't talk much. But now, with him holding my wrist, I felt my wrist getting hot. Well, it's not that much. I take back what I said about calling him a little puppy. I want to call him a wolf pretending to be innocent. The wolf pretending to be innocent noticed something was wrong and quickly let go of me. He pulled out money from his pocket. How much is it? I immediately waved my hand to refuse. No. I said I'm treating you guys. If you don't accept, it means you look down on me. Dame looked me up and down, sneering. You took so much money from us last time. You should treat us to a meal. She pretended to casually ask me. Did you buy that new car you said you'd get? I felt a little embarrassed. Comparing with my fingertips, the new car was too expensive. I couldn't bring myself to buy it. I bought a used one for $50. The rest of the money I didn't spend recklessly. I bought my grandma a nice urn. And the rest I've been saving. If you need, I can pay you back. Dame put on a knowing expression. Sneering. Whatever. The kind of money a lowly person like you has touched. If you gave it to me, I'd feel dirty. Then she said to Eric. Eric, stop talking nonsense with her. Let's go. But Eric didn't pay attention to her. And said to me. How much longer until your shift ends? I'll help you. I admit that I usually pretend a little. But I can't stand when someone actually believes it. I looked at Eric, feeling very awkward. No, it's fine. This guy is too honest. He won't actually like me. Right? He doesn't want to see me struggle. Does he? To my surprise, he actually rolled up his sleeves and walked toward my stall. How'd I do this? Eric is so handsome. He's a handsome and bright young man. Called charming. But in fact, he's a handsome guy on the same level as Hack Bao Trong. Just with a different style. Standing at my stall, the customers who were initially hesitant and wanted to go eat somewhere else turned around and lined up in a long queue. Eric, who is usually cold and quiet, is actually a little socially awkward. Seeing this scene, he got a little tense and called me. Allie, come here, what should we do? I saw Dame and the others about to roll their eyes to the back of their heads. Seeing the line getting longer, I hurried to grill the squid. Like this. First, take a squid. Dame stomped her foot in anger and called Eric's name. Eric, what's wrong with you? I said. Sprinkle the seasoning. Add the onions. Brush on the sauce. Dame, seeing that Eric wasn't paying attention to her, came up with an idea. Took out her phone, and started taking pictures of us nonstop. Smirking to herself, she fiddled with her phone. It seemed like she wasn't doing anything good. But it's fine, I don't have a phone. I didn't see it. I have to say, Eric is really a great asset for selling grilled squid. With him helping, the speed at which I served was not only faster, but my sales also doubled. The squid I planned to sell in one night was sold out in just over an hour. I told Eric, all right, you can go now. If you get home late, your parents will scold you. This place is too dusty. It's not suitable for you. Don't come here again next time. To my surprise, Eric silently helped me clean up the tools. A moment later, he said sadly, my mom passed away. My dad remarried. No one takes care of me. I didn't expect that he was also a poor kid like me. I subconsciously slapped myself. I'm so awful. I didn't mean to. Eric is really so honest. He thought I worked at the night market. And after helping me clean up, he insisted on taking me home. Dame and the others, impatient, had already left on their own. I didn't know how to refuse this kind-hearted person, so I could only let him see how poor I was. My house is really shabby. Are you sure you don't mind? But Eric didn't say anything. Just helped me push the squid grill and asked where I was going. The house I'm living in now is the old house my grandma left me. The houses around here that could be demolished have already been torn down. They said our area would be demolished over a decade ago. But until my grandma passed away, it still hadn't been. Most of the people around here have either moved or rented out their houses. And the population is pretty complicated. Eric pushed my grill through a few streets, up some slopes, and finally brought me to the place. Sure enough, when he saw the old building I was living in, his face fell slightly. You live in a place like this? I felt a little guilty, brushing my hair behind my ear. Is it too poor? But Eric looked around sharply and said to me, this place is too secluded. It's not safe for a young girl like you to be here. You should rent a place near the school. I'll pay for it. ? This, just a moment ago, it was like a bright, innocent schoolyard script. And now he wants to support me? Although Eric is handsome, kind-hearted, and comes from a wealthy family. He can't change my career script just because his own conditions are good. I immediately pushed the grill into the storage room, my face turning red, and scolded him. What are you saying? I thought of you as a schoolmate. I thought you were kind. But I didn't expect you to be like this. Go away, don't come here next time. I then ran upstairs. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I almost escaped the single life. Because of Eric's help, I finished work early and went to bed early. The next day, I deliberately woke up early to make a few sandwiches and brought them to school for Dame and the others to eat. Gratitude is important. Without their startup donation, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm truly a grateful person. To my surprise, when I got to school, many people looked at me strangely. They whispered behind my back, gossiping loudly. I didn't expect him to be like this. Question mark, question mark, question mark. What am I like? He usually seems so obedient. I didn't expect that. Am I not obedient enough that you all can't tell? I thought he liked John. If I'd known he had such bad judgment, I wouldn't have asked him for advice before the exams. Question mark, question mark, question mark. What kind of nonsense is this? You're going too far. I thought. What on earth just happened? I need to find someone to ask. But the people around me, upon seeing me, ran off like they saw a ghost. Going upstairs, I ran into John. John is the Black Hawk of the school, and he usually treats me very well. But now he had a grim expression, looking at me deeply. Then he said, Allie, I'm really disappointed in you. I held the sandwich, confused. No way, what did I do? When I got to class, the 5 of them were already there early. When they saw me, Dame changed her attitude, no longer as sarcastic as usual, and warmly said, Oh, isn't this Allie, our top student? So early, you've already come to school? I smiled. Yes, I woke up early today and specially brought breakfast for you all. I saw that you all liked the sandwiches I made yesterday. Then, I gave each of the 5 people one sandwich. Eric didn't dare look at me, just took it and ate it right away. But Dame looked at me in disbelief. You woke up early to make breakfast for us? I said enthusiastically. Yes, eat quickly before it gets cold. I put 2 eggs and a sausage in each one. Dame took the sandwich, cleared her throat, and snorted. I'm not eating it. Then she turned and saw her 2 errand boys and Adam eating. And they were praising it as they ate. So good, so good, so good. She couldn't help it. You guys. Eric quickly finished one sandwich, reached over to take Dame's. You're not eating? Give it to me, Dame angrily yelled. Eric, were you a starving ghost in your past life? Then she looked at me awkwardly and said, Don't think these sandwiches will shut us up. Allie, you're done for. Yesterday, I already knew that Dame wasn't up to anything good. But I didn't expect her to be this childish. She took a picture of me and Eric and posted it on the school forum. The post was all about saying we were dating. A sweet couple, setting up stalls, and so on. Is that all? Is that really it? Sure enough, not long after, I was called to the homeroom teacher's office. What about Eric? His dad is a city leader, so they didn't dare call him. The homeroom teacher looked at me with a face full of disappointment. Allie, why are you with Eric? I had high expectations for you. You can't ruin your future like this. What future could you possibly have hanging out with him? You know your family situation better than anyone. I pretended not to understand. Teacher, what are you saying? I don't understand. The teacher turned on the computer screen, pointed at the post on the forum. You see for yourself. A student who doesn't study properly, doesn't get up early to study, but goes to the night market to set up a stall. You're still young. You'll have many opportunities to make money. Your most important task now is studying. Do you want to spend your life setting up a stall? Actually, it's not that it's impossible. But I'm sure I can't say it like that. This homeroom teacher is kind. Just really cares about me. I calmly explained. Teacher, you misunderstood. I did go to set up a stall at the night market. But I'm not in a relationship with Eric. Yesterday, he was out with some classmates and happened to meet me. Seeing how busy I was, he offered to help me. I do this to save money for tuition and living expenses for university. Don't worry, it won't affect my studies. The homeroom teacher's expression softened a bit after hearing this. But he still didn't let it go. That place is crowded and complicated. How could it not affect your studies? Don't argue with me. Wait until the results of the exam next month. And you'll know. While we were talking, a teacher came downstairs holding the report cards. Lao Yan, Your class results are in. I'll bring them to you. Allie, in your class. The student in second place has stayed there for a while. But this time you finally beat him. The homeroom teacher was stunned when he heard this. Then opened the report card to check and was greatly surprised. That's right. I've been setting up stalls. And not only has it not affected my studies, but actually, I've improved. Not only did I beat John, who had been in first place for a while, but I also scored 10 points higher than him. The homeroom teacher was both happy and embarrassed. Still in disbelief. Last month's exam. You clearly haven't been studying properly. I calmly said. Teacher, I've been setting up stalls for almost half a year. I really won't let it affect my studies. Smart people don't date. The homeroom teacher looked at me and then at my report card, confirming that I wasn't lying, and finally accepted my explanation. Go ahead and head back. I'll take care of this. Back in class, Dame looked at me smugly. So, Allie, did the homeroom teacher scold you? I sighed, feeling a bit helpless. Yes, he did. The fact that I set up a stall got out. And he misunderstood that Eric and I were dating. Dame and the others immediately burst into laughter. But the next words I said made them unable to laugh anymore. However, I explained everything to him. He understood now. He even said, I was the top of the whole grade in this month's exam. I clenched my fist, my face turning red with excitement. I beat John. I scored 10 points higher than him. This is the highest score I've ever gotten. I'm so happy. Tonight, I'll treat you all to grilled food. Dame, upon hearing this, clutched her chest and collapsed onto the desk. You actually got first place? How dare you? Who gave you the right to be ahead of John? I felt a bit aggrieved, raising my hand to compare. Didn't you say you didn't like my name next to John's? Dame, hearing this, got even angrier. Oh my, this kid must be really happy for me, right? She was so happy, she couldn't even speak properly. Just then, John appeared at the door of our classroom. He was leaning against the door, wearing a white shirt, his bangs blowing in the wind. He was truly a handsome young man, blessed with looks that were hard to rival. He looked at me with a complicated expression. Allie, congratulations, you finally beat me. I take back what I said earlier. I was planning to choose Tsinghua University for my college application. And you should come with me. Let's meet at the top. For John, who always sees himself as a flower on a high mountain, this invitation could be considered a kind of indirect confession. Right? No. Naturally, as soon as he finished speaking, Dame immediately exploded. John, what are you saying? You want Allie to attend the same school as you? Does she deserve that? Does she deserve it? She deserves it. I awkwardly nodded. Classmate John, you expect too much from me. This time, I was just lucky to beat you. Next time, I may not be able to get such a high score. John frowned and looked at me. Allie, is this a lack of confidence? That's not like you. He then shot a bitter glance at Eric. Or is it because of him? Eric is an excellent student in sports and has earned a reserved spot at one of the top sports universities in the country. Did John think I wanted to attend Eric's university? Silly child. If you study seriously, why would you have the brain of someone in love? Of course, I would choose a school with a lot of scholarships. Of course. Eric couldn't hold back anymore and slammed his hand down on the table. Enough, John. Don't interfere. Where Allie goes to school is her own choice. You have no right to interfere. John clenched his fist and coldly stared at Eric. What qualifications do you have? Aren't you my best friend? You know me well. Oh no, this is bad. The handsome John has just exposed everything. Now that I'm the most famous person in the school, if rumors about me and John get out, it'll ruin my image. I immediately interrupted them. Oh, we're all classmates. What are you guys saying? The teacher already agreed for me to set up a stall. Tonight, I'm going to the night market. And I'll treat you all to grilled squid. Aren't you best friends? Don't let something trivial ruin the harmony. At first, I just said it for fun. John is a very proud person and a bit picky. Street stalls at the night market. He would definitely not eat there. But to my surprise, he agreed. I'm someone who hates being in the spotlight. Afraid of getting too famous. I don't know if the fact that I work part-time at night, earning a few thousand yuan a month, will get exposed. That night, as I was cycling home, a few thugs blocked my way at the alley entrance. One of them, with golden hair and a cigarette in his mouth, cursed. You're Allie, right? I heard you're really rich. Lend us some money. I was very surprised. Ah, I only have 5 yuan on me. Is that little money worth stealing? The golden-haired guy snuffed out his cigarette, spat on the ground, and yelled, "Are you giving it to us like a beggar? Hand over all your money." I looked at them. I had little money, but I still had my bike. I was in a dilemma. Should I give them the bike? No, I plan to ride it until I graduate. Besides, there were 3 of them, and I only had one bike. It wouldn't be enough to share. Thinking this, I quietly pulled the zipper on my backpack. The golden-haired guy seemed to be the leader of these thugs. Seeing this, he became agitated and stepped forward, his voice a little anxious. "Hand over something good." I gritted my teeth and pulled out a brick. My father was severely injured on a mission. Before he passed away, he told me that after his death, I should burn his body into a brick. One for my mother and one for me. Although he could no longer protect us, he left us this to defend ourselves. My mother threw away her brick when she remarried. But I've kept mine all this time. And I intentionally painted it pink with oil paint. At this moment, I held up the brick. The golden-haired guy and his thugs were all confused. "What is this?" I directly smashed the brick into his head, taking a blow from my father. His spirit was shattered, and the fatherly love struck like thunder, dispelling the darkness. The golden-haired guy didn't expect me to carry the brick and got stunned when I hit him. He pointed at me, his finger trembling. "You dirty woman, you dare to hit me?" I hit his hand with the brick again. The golden-haired guy screamed in pain and rushed toward me, trying to strike. I waited for him to charge, decisively pushed my bike sideways to block the alley, stopped him, and then turned around to run away. My actions were over in less than half a minute. The golden-haired guys were too complacent to react in time. By the time they tried to chase me, they were blocked by my bike. A few seconds of delay were enough for me to escape the alley. As soon as I ran out of the alley, I bumped into a few people. It was Dame, Lisa, and the others. Dame saw me running like the wind, frowned, and asked, "Allie, didn't you leave earlier? Why are you still here?" I burst into tears and threw myself into Dame's arms. "Dame, there are bad people. 3 of them tried to rob me." Dame was very surprised and tried to push me away as if she didn't know me. How could I love someone so much that I can't even take care of myself? I hugged her tightly, refusing to let go. "Help me, they know my name, and they know I sell things at the night market." At that moment, the 3 thugs chased us out, saw me, and immediately started cursing. "You filthy woman, dare to hit me, let's see if I don't kill you." Upon hearing the golden-haired guy, Dame immediately got angry. "Who the hell are you to rob someone at the entrance of the #1 school? Do you want to die? Oh, so these 3 aren't under Dame's orders? She's even defending me. She's really a good person." The golden-haired thugs saw the 4 of us girls were a bit scared. But their mouths didn't back down. "Let me tell you, don't be too arrogant at school. If someone doesn't like you, they'll send us to teach you a lesson. This has nothing to do with you girls. I advise you to leave quickly. Or else don't blame us if innocent people get involved." Oh my, I didn't expect this golden-haired guy to have a sense of honor. Lisa sneered. "Do you know Dame's grandfather? Do you know what we do for a living? Have you ever heard of Captain?" The golden-haired guy was stunned and asked his underling quietly. "Who is that?" One of the underlings, pale-faced, replied, "The head of the police department." I immediately widened my eyes, looking at Dame in astonishment. I didn't expect her to be the daughter of someone in a position of power. The thugs immediately ran off. Scared, I couldn't stop praising Dame. "Dame, you're not just beautiful, come from a good family, but also kind-hearted, standing up for what's right. Even though you posted that picture of Eric and me online, causing unnecessary misunderstandings, I didn't see it because I don't have a phone. So I'm not upset. If your grades were just a little better, you'd be the perfect goddess. And John would definitely like you." Dame looked at me, flattered, then couldn't help but roll her eyes. "When you're complimenting me, just compliment me, don't bring up other stuff. I admit I posted your picture. Didn't I want John to give up on you? How annoying. He actually likes you. What makes you better than me? I'm better than you." Dame, if before I had jokingly said I'd treat them to barbecue, now I really meant it. Inviting them to eat as much as they wanted. Even though I lost my father when I was 8, and my mother remarried, and then my grandmother passed away recently. With you guys by my side, I feel so happy. I'm not alone. Then I raised my soda can and clinked glasses with them. To becoming better versions of ourselves. Cheers. Dame stared at me. "That's so pointless. You girls from poor families really like playing these pretentious games. Hey, I'm not drinking soda. I want beer. I immediately stopped her. You're not old enough to drink beer. So let's have X-Bor instead. Dame protested, but I held her tight. Dame, be good. Listen to me. John and Eric looked at us with expressions as if they had seen a ghost. When did you two become so close? They shouldn't have asked, because I immediately started eagerly telling them the whole story, vividly recounting how I was in danger today, how Dame heroically stepped in, using her family's glory to suppress the thugs and save me from danger. Dame blushed, looking embarrassed. There's no need to exaggerate like that. Stop talking. I'm brave, like a righteous light shining on the world. Dame, Allie, I declare that I will be closest to you from now on in the world. Eric and John stared at me, astonished. Dame looked horrified, and they exchanged glances, both seeing doubt in each other's eyes. Allie, you won't be. I smiled shyly. How annoying. I'm just good friends with Dame. But looking at their eyes, it's clear they misunderstood. In the days that followed, Eric often came to help me sell goods, bringing the basketball team to support me, and sometimes even gave me rides home at night. Worried about my safety, John reclaimed his top spot, studying harder and returning to his cold, indifferent demeanor as before. Unfortunately, after I outscored him once, I never lost again. Dame really liked John and knew that he wanted to apply to Tsinghua University to be with him. She didn't bother me anymore. Instead, she found extra classes and tutors, studying day and night. As for me, of course, I was busy making money. I made sandwiches, grilled squid, and even sold ice drinks and herbal fruit tea. There's a saying, smart people don't fall in love, they become rich instead. Rich and beautiful. By the time of the college entrance exam, I had become a little rich girl, with savings of millions. John and I didn't take the direct recruitment route. We wanted to compete in the exams. That year, John and I had the same score, both becoming the top students in the exam. The whole school was overjoyed, holding a grand celebration and giving us generous rewards. When the TV station came for an interview, I was still selling grilled food, so my tragic background, independent spirit, and perseverance in studying were widely publicized. I went from being a poor girl, bullied in school, to a goddess of inspiration. Unlike John, who was determined to go to Tsinghua, I chose Beijing instead for the higher scholarship. During the graduation ceremony, I bought a new phone and added all my classmates and teachers to my contacts. Looking at my contacts and then at the balance in my bank account, I couldn't help but laugh. Teachers and classmates thought I was moved, rushing to hug me and take pictures. When my second uncle found out how much scholarship money I had received, he appeared and said, "A child like you holding so much money won't do any good. You should give it to me to keep safe." This second uncle of mine had never been serious about studying. A few years ago, he hurt someone, didn't have money for compensation, and was put in prison for a few years. Now, he was the only relative I had left in the world. Of course, I had to help him. I said, "Uncle, I need this money for school. The cost of living in Beijing is high, and the tuition is expensive, so I really can't give it to you. But I can give you this house. This house was left by Grandma, and since my father passed away, you are her only son. When I go to school, my household registration needs to be transferred. If this house is demolished, all the compensation will be yours." My second uncle seemed to understand this and said, "You're really my smart, eldest niece, top of the university, and quick-witted. I'm sure you won't fight with me over this." I nodded. Of course, except for my father's memorial tablet and Grandma's urn. Everything else in this house is yours. After agreeing with my second uncle and signing the contract, I took my father's memorial tablet, Grandma's urn, and my millions in savings and set off for Beijing. I arrived in Beijing a month earlier, rented a place outside the school, and began renovating. By the time school started, my snack shop was ready for business. I hired a professional manager to run the store. Usually, I would go to the shop as a part-time worker. Whenever it was break time, I would message in the group, "I want to order bubble tea. Who wants some? Anyone want a sandwich?" I always managed to get a lot of orders. Later, they discovered I was working part-time at a snack shop. I laughed quietly. They certainly didn't know that I was also the owner. Although Dame worked hard to catch up to John, in the end, she started too late and couldn't get into a domestic university. Fortunately, her family had money, and they sent her abroad to study. When I saw her off at the airport, Dame cried out, Why can you sell street food and still get the top score?" But despite my hard work, I didn't get into university? I comforted her. Think about it. You're the rich young lady. Your dad is wealthy. And your grandfather is powerful. A girl from a slum like me. No matter how hard I try, wouldn't I still end up working for your family? The more excellent I become, isn't it better for you? Dame made a sound, seeming to understand a bit. A few years later, Dame graduated, returned to the country, and was arranged by her father to intern in the family company. Starting from the lowest level, she was surprised to discover that I was the CEO in her company. Dame cried out, "Allie, you're a fraud. You said you would work for my family." I acted innocent. "I am working for your family." Dame protested with such intensity that she almost bled. "Chief Financial Officer? You told me you were just a regular employee?" I pulled her down to the basement and opened my car. "Come on, let's eat first." Dame cried and sobbed. "You even drive a Maserati?" After bragging at a restaurant for a while, the next year, I took her back to my luxury apartment. Dame cried so much she hiccuped. "You even live in a luxurious house? Tell me, are you not someone powerful? My dad doesn't even have this level of power. But your grandfather must be that powerful, right?" I smiled indulgently and patted her head. "You're such a silly child. Your imagination is still so limited." She had no idea that after 4 years in college, I had earned a lot of money. Not only did I start my own restaurant chain brand, but I also took the company public. After graduation, I didn't rush to apply for graduate school but sold the company, withdrew the money, and took my resume to her family's company to become the CEO. My old teachers and classmates all became close to me. Her father and grandfather treated me very well, almost as if I were their own daughter. Later, Dame still heard her father talk about my journey. She was constantly amazed. Damn. Then, her father scolded her. "You're this old now. Don't you think before you act? Look at your classmate Allie. Now look at yourself." I stood beside them, smiling modestly. "Chairman, you're too kind." Later, the So family and the Lamb family arranged a marriage. And Dame finally married the guy she secretly liked since her youth. After they married, they lived happily and even had a chubby little boy. The night before the wedding, at the bachelor party, John blushed and said to me, "I was so blind back then. Why didn't I realize that the silly girl was still more lovable?" I don't know why, but ever since she came back to the country and I saw her, I felt differently. I smirked. "I think you're the one who looks like a child. But they love each other sincerely. While I'm a lonely person, so I don't comment. After all, it's their child, the only heir." A few years later, Dame's father retired, and Dame was promoted to CEO. She was so happy she cried. "Finally, I can manage you now. Allie, do you know how long I've waited for this day?" I congratulated her, but I had already resigned. I was preparing to start my own career. That day, Dame cried a lot. A woman over 30, a mother, crying like a teenager. Oh, she must be reluctant to part with me. I comforted her. "We'll meet again as partners." She cried even more heartbreakingly. After many years of college, we had no news of Eric. It's said that he enlisted in the military later, but no one knew the specifics. One year, the company needed to hire a security team leader. I was free, so I personally interviewed, and saw a man in black, with neatly cut hair, a tall, slim figure, and handsome looks sitting opposite me. I was a bit startled. "Eric." He smiled brightly, exuding the charm of a mature man and an irresistible allure. "It's been a long time. Allie,